Hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to do another explanation video, this time with restoring skin tones. Here is Chang'en's poster from their Unlock online tour promotional thing, along with a gift from Sungmin's moving poster. I had a friend who I was gonna make a base PSD for restoring skin tones, but I figured it actually might be a little bit helpful for a actual YouTube video tutorial explanation on certain things. So there's so many different ways that you can restore skin tones. This is the way that I've kind of evolved my coloring over the years. So kind of similar to the last explanation video, I usually start with curves to bring up some of the reds and bring down some of the blues to bring out more color within the skin tones, and then same with the levels. Bump those reds up, bump the blues up a little in the highlights, and then take down the blues a little bit in the midtones. So that already made like a decent difference. And recently I've also been playing a little bit around with exposure. I don't know too much about some of this stuff, but I usually bring down the exposure a little bit, bring up gamma correction maybe a little bit, and I usually leave offset alone. For this one, I usually like having those really dark backgrounds. So I usually go to selective color and then bump up the blacks. Use a brush again, make sure it's black, and then I mess around with the layer mask, that's what it's called, layer mask, and kind of delete or paint over his actual skin tone because I just wanted that background gone. And I may just duplicate that layer, and then that background is pretty much black. Oh, and also sometimes I do some touch-ups with the skin tones just to make it a little bit more vibrant, I guess. And then recently what I've been doing also is with a HueSaturation layer, take one of those, bring the saturation almost all the way down, and then go to the reds and bump it up. This is just a style preference. This doesn't necessarily like hurt or help the skin tones that much. And then also I usually go to layer, new fill layer, solid color. This is also kind of a preference as well. I usually don't do it completely black. I usually have kind of a really dark gray, and then I usually duplicate that layer, create the bottom one as multiply, and then usually use kind of an orange or red color, and then usually take it down to like 20-something%, and then that brings some more yellow into the skin tone. But just with that, with just some quick messing around with it, we pretty much made his skin tone a lot warmer and a lot less white than what it was before. And then we'll just kind of apply these same principles also to this one, to this Sungmin GIF as well. Also making that background completely black also helps with the flashing problems. It's not really a problem, but the flashing in the background. But again, we just have our curves layer. For this one, I brought it down, pull the reds up a little bit, pull the blues down a little bit. It's a bit too much. And then go to levels, play around with it a little bit, edit the reds, edit the blues. Yeah, again, I don't normally mess with the greens unless the scene itself is really green, but that's not really the case for this. We can go to exposure a little bit, bring it down just a little bit. I guess the exposure helps, like if there's a really stark contrast with the whites in the skin, it brings it down a little bit, so like half of his face won't be white later on. But there's that, so just not really mutes it, but makes the white point a little bit lower. Go to selective color, yellows, bump up some of the reds, HueSaturation, bring up the reds, and then go to layer, new fill layer, solid color. Lighten. I make that a smidge darker. And then duplicate, multiply, kind of an orangey red tone. I used to do yellow compared to kind of orange or red, but it turned the skin a color I didn't quite like. So that's why I kind of changed it recently. And then I bumped up the blacks a little bit. There we go. And then with this, we went from that to much warmer skin tone. And also pretty much took out the flashing in the background. You see some light changes on his skin, but it's not nearly as bad as it was before. But yes, yeah, this is a very brief video, but hopefully this explanation kind of helps show maybe a slightly different way of restoring skin tones for both edits and GIFs. Very similar process, but if there's a certain scene that you would like to see, or from a certain video or a certain picture, you can always request. That's always also a fun time to try and correct things. I also find correcting skin tones actually a kind of fun thing to do. It's kind of shitty that we have to do it, but it is kind of a fun process for me. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video.